So I'm Lauren. I'm 22 and I'm doing the level 3 advanced apprenticeship, which comes with a level 3 in BTEC, and I am a prototype. So I'm working on prototype vehicles.
And Iran.
My name's Arian Malik. I'm 20, second year degree apprentice. So I'm working towards a mechanical engineering degree, as well as working with Ford.
So, to both of you, how and why did you choose Ford? Because it's a huge company, but what were the main reasons that made you choose Ford?
For me, it's exactly that. It's because it's such a large company. And for me, I knew how good Ford was. And I thought with such a large company, there are so many potential pathways for me and so many things that I could do with it. I knew that there was a lot of good benefits for working for Ford. I knew they are one of the highest paying apprenticeships around and that the training is really good. And I'd only ever heard good stuff. So
I agree with that. With it being a big company, it comes with a lot of benefits, not only at apprenticeship level, but once you've completed your apprenticeship, there's a lot of different routes that you can take. Um, Another thing is that I've heard, like Lauren said, a lot of good things. Everyone that I've spoken to, they say that Ford take care of their employees, and hearing it from the outside, you kind of don't really you don't realize how much of an influence that makes on your workplace. And so yeah, they do take care of the employees, and I find it really good.
Brilliant. No, very interesting answers. And I think that bit on care and looking after your employees is so important. And yeah, the next question is for people not familiar with Ford engineering apprenticeships, um, can you summarize what you do and what you can expect in the different roles? Maybe just like an overview of your different roles.
as a level 3 advanced apprentice, I am trained in a specific trade. So I am a prototype, meaning I work on all the experimental vehicles that come into Ford, specifically Dunton. Um, in my first year, it's a very broad teaching. You learn to use machinery, you learn how to hand fit, how to hand fix things, fix components with said machinery and stuff like that. Now I work on vehicle electrical systems and components, and there's a lot of fault finding involved, a lot of working with engineers and stuff like that. As well as in the first 2 years, we obviously have college 1 week every month. So you're learning on the job and off the job.
With the degree apprenticeship, it's slightly more varied. So it's a 4 year course, and over the 4 years, you spend 8 months in different rotations. And so you kind of get a feel for what the company's about and what different areas of the company that you can get exposed to. Um, I'm currently in my third rotation and work 4 days a week, either at Dunton or in the office or work from home. Um, and the fifth day we get sent to university on a weekly basis. So we're working towards a university degree alongside working as a Ford employee.
And so then what are the main differences between the day-to-day duties of an advanced engineering apprentice and a degree in engineering apprentice? What would be the biggest differences? Maybe explain your day-to-day, but probably like the biggest differences.
So I'm in my fourth year now, meaning I'm in my home area. So I'm obviously a vehicle electrician. My day starts at 7 a.m. I'm not sure if it's the same for degree apprentices. I get into the workshop, obviously put my safety boots and my safety stuff on. The foreman will come in and will give a list of jobs. And if they're suited for electricians, I will take the job. Where I'm still an apprentice, I do work alongside someone, so I'm not on my own, another skilled or trained person. And then we spend the day fault finding, working with the engineers to see if there's any updates or problems with the components, switching the components out. Um, a lot of the time, my days are very different because obviously they're experimental vehicles, so each day could be completely different, which is obviously really exciting. And then we finish at 3:30, which is great. It's quite early. You still have your whole evening, and then we get early finish on a Friday, so we finish at 12:30, which again, I don't know many companies that do that for their employees. So
I could never get up that early. We start at around, I mean, it kind of depends on the role. A lot of the teams are quite flexible in the hours that you do. It's more, as long as you get the hours, 7.5 hours per day, and as long as you do it within the rough working hours of about 8 to 4, there's no set timings. I mean, different teams have different timings, but for the current rotation I'm in, I usually start around 8:30, finish around 4:30, 5 o'clock. But as Lauren said, each day is different. Whether you be in the office, it's more interacting with the team, more collaborative workings. You kind of work on the projects that you kind of need multiple people on. Whereas working from home, it's kind of, you're working on a little bit on your own. Obviously the people there to help, you can ask for help anytime you want. But it's more working from home, kind of working on individual projects and the things that are specified to you as an individual. And so kind of balancing the two. And then obviously university is a completely separate day itself, but day-to-day activities, majority is computer-based for me, sitting at a laptop. So try to get the exercise in is a bit of a difficulty, but yeah, sitting at a laptop majority of the days, and a few days going on some testing. But again, different teams specify in different areas, so I will get a chance to get some more hands-on experience further down the line.
Very exciting and very interesting. And that balance between working from home and not, I think it's really important for companies to accept and then build a plan and strategy towards it. And then why did you both go down the apprenticeship route rather than university?
For me, I've always been a very practical learner. So in school, when we used to do science classes or physics or anything like that, when it was the experiments, I was thriving, loved it. It was great. But when it came to just classroom stuff and just tests, I struggled. So I knew that going to uni would be quite difficult for me. I also did not like the idea of having to pay so much money and have so little money coming in. I know a lot of people struggle with the balance of working and trying to go to university at the same time. So for me, having an apprenticeship where I'm paid to learn and I get qualifications in engineering, which could push me to a degree, was just the perfect balance for me. We learn on the job, we learn off the job. It's it's always so different. And it's just so exciting.
I think jumping on that, I'm similar to Lauren in terms of being a practical learner and gaining as much experience as I can in not only the engineering field, but what it's like in working in the office or just being out there in the world. Alongside that, it's just a lot of benefits. Again, as Lauren mentioned, it was the idea of going to uni is great, but the funds that you have to pay for that, you have to take a student loan and you come out with it with a pretty hefty debt. As a degree apprentice, I'm getting the same level degree, a bachelor's in engineering. It just takes a year longer, but it's all funded by Ford. And so I'm coming out with 4 years of experience, a similar degree to what I would have been doing anyway. And that 4 years of experience, that as well as getting paid, but that 4 years of valuable experience that pretty much all employers look for when you come out of uni.
I think the experience is so valuable and learning about different things is so key. So yeah, really amazing answers there. And then what would be your top 3 best tips to anyone considering applying for Ford apprenticeship programs?
Mine would be, first of all, to make sure you do your research on the apprenticeships, what they offer, and the different pathways, because obviously there's the degree apprenticeship and there's also my advanced apprenticeship. Within the advanced apprenticeship, you've got a prototype route, which is working on the vehicles, and you've got a mechalech route, which is working on the machinery that help with the tests for the vehicles. And they're quite different fields. And obviously you want to see which one you're more suited for. Also, because there's 2 options of working at Dunton or Dagenham, which if you don't do your research, you end up at the wrong one, you might not be happy. I also know of people that applied for the advanced but meant to apply for the higher. So obviously just making sure you do your research and your reading and all of that when you initially apply. Also, any prior knowledge you could have on the automotive industry or science or physics or anything like that. Because personally, when I joined, I knew nothing about vehicles. I only knew what I had worked on my own car. So obviously, it literally doesn't matter because there were so many people in the same boat as me. I just feel like confidence wise, if you have a little bit of background knowledge, it can really push you through. And the last one is to just believe in yourself at every single step, because I was so nervous in my interviews and I really thought I didn't get the job. And I was like, oh, you know, I just didn't believe in myself. When I got the call, I didn't quite believe Alison when she told me I had the apprenticeship. I was like, you sure speaking to the right person? But just having the confidence, whether you know everything or know nothing, you just need the confidence to push yourself through.
The 3 tips I'd told myself and give to anyone who asks, as always, be confident. Make sure like you're confident with the way you speak, even if like you know everything or you know nothing. Just be confident in the way you speak and present yourself. Confidence is always a really great thing, and that's what employers look for as well. Are you confident? Can you work in a team? Can you present yourself well? So as long as you can, see, you might not be confident, you might be really nervous and like really scared, but as long as you can present yourself as being quite confident, it's always a bonus. Second tip would be to be yourself. There's no point pretending to be someone that you're not, especially at the interview stages or when you're applying for something, because eventually it's going to come out. And if you work there as an employee, you're never going to put up this facade for long. So I'd say be yourself and let the employers choose you for you, not for someone you're pretending to be. And so play to your skills, let them know the things that you're not as good at, because there's always room for improvement for everyone. And yeah, so I just say be yourself and be confident in being yourself as well. And number three, similar to what Lauren said, kind of read up on the role and the company itself. Make sure this is something that you definitely want to do. There's no point doing something without reading into it and then kind of realizing afterwards that you find it quite boring or you're not really enjoying it as much. So yeah, I'd say be confident, be yourself, and kind of read up on the role and the company itself.
Very useful for everyone. And then a question for Lauren here. It says, what would you say you've learned from working as a woman in the engineering sector that you probably didn't know before? Because hats off to you going into, such a male-dominated industry. What are your biggest learnings slash takeaways, just kind of in that space?
My biggest learning curve is the fact that it really doesn't matter whether you're a male or a female, you genuinely are treated the same, which I really didn't expect. I was so nervous that people were going to be like, oh, she's not going to know anything. She's a girl, blah, blah, blah. The classic stereotype. But everyone has been so supportive of me and so helpful. And when I've taken a while to understand something or I've struggled with a bit of machinery, it's never been like judgmental. It's always been, oh yeah, no problem, let me help you out. Or, oh yeah, I didn't know when I first started. And it's been so reassuring, especially first year coming in and seeing the massive machinery that you've got to use and you're given these raw materials and you're making things out of them. Like if you'd told me on my first day, oh, you'll be making tools and you'd be making toolboxes and you'll be working on massive vehicles, I genuinely would not believe you. But it's been so easy to integrate. I've never been treated different to any other apprentices, even obviously with male apprentices. Um, it was definitely daunting, but the annoying thing is obviously there's not as many female engineers as I imagined there were. So it's been one of my passions to like, I want to be the female engineer that young girls can look up to and say, I want to be like her.
Hats off to you. I think it's incredible. And you are an inspiration. So keep going. So, yeah. And then another question is, what opportunities are available through Ford following on from your apprenticeship? So, what are the next steps? How do they help with career development? That kind of thing.
For me, I know that there are quite limitless possibilities. So I know that from my apprenticeship, I could either pass on to the higher apprenticeship and do a degree, or Ford will sponsor me to do a degree, which would be great because I can move up, I can become an engineer, I can be in charge of the tests that I'm helping out with now. Um, if not, I know I could go for Open University, and again, Ford would support me if I needed the study time or a bit more experience time in different departments. I know that from my trade, I can go into different departments if I wanted to. Any departments that have electricians, I can step into their roles. I can help out with different tests. I also know that as a fresh apprentice, there's a lot of abroad trips where we do hot testing, cold testing in places like Finland, Arizona, Italy. There's a lot of different crazy trips I can go on as an electrician or as a as an apprentice and learn all these different fun experiences, and then hopefully I can push my way up and become an engineer.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's not only the opportunities after the apprenticeship, but during the apprenticeship, you get certain soft skills that you just kind of develop on the way. I've managed to go out to Germany, Cologne 3 times in the past year, and all 3 experiences have been absolutely amazing. They're all for different reasons, but they're all for me to learn about the company and certain testing and just team events in general. So those experiences are great. You learn networking skills, and networking is really important, not only within Ford, but just in general. Knowing as many people as you can is always helpful when you need to get a task done. After the apprenticeship, as a degree apprentice, as a higher apprentice, you provided that you've passed your university exams, which hopefully goes well, you're guaranteed a job role as a engineer. And so from there, again, it's up to you. You kind of get what you put in. If you put in a lot of effort, put in a lot of work, they'll recognize you. Ford have a great recognition scheme, and so if you're doing well, there's opportunity for you to move up in the up the ranks, but also laterally. You can move from one role to in the same rank, but in a different job role completely. Just because something that might be something you enjoy, or might be something that you want to have a go at. So there's moves within the company, not even within a sector. You can be within engineering, and if you really wanted to, you can go over to the finance sector just because something you want to have a crack at. Obviously, there's a lot of there's the application process, everything behind that, but the opportunities are there. And as long as you want to go for it and you're willing to, the Ford will support you as much as they can.
Brilliant. And then time management and between studying and working, how do you both manage this? Because this is something I personally struggle with within my degree apprenticeship, but is there any tips for management, or how do you tell people that, you can get the balance right and you can manage it? What are your thinkings behind that?
So for my apprenticeship, we only strictly study for the first 2 years because it's a college BTEC. So for the first 2 years, we do one whole week a month where we're at college, which is held in Dunton anyway, which is quite easy to get to for most people. So within that week, we may do 2 or 3 units of the college program. And my absolute best advice would be just get your head down and just listen to everything, get all your notes, because you also do most of your coursework within that 1 week. And my best advice would be do it as you go, because I know some people ended up having to catch up at the end because they missed a week, or they're on holiday, or were ill, or didn't quite pay attention in class because they're too busy chatting, whatever. My best advice would be get that work done in that week as quickly as possible, because the lecturers are right there if you're stuck, so you can literally approach them straight away. And other than that, for the next 2 years, we have written work about jobs that you'd actually physically do, which are much easier to write because it's literally your own experience. But again, my advice would be whenever there's downtime after your job, get it written down, get all the notes down as quickly as possible, and then come back to it in your free time. It just means more likely your free time will actually be your free time if you get the work done when you can. Other than that, there is a lot of support. You can approach SkillNet, you can approach your foreman, your supervisor, even peers. So I've had people approach me before and ask questions about stuff we did in college, and I'll sit down with them and we'll go through it. But if you do struggle, definitely look for the support instead of letting it all build up and fall backwards. But
I really hope I had asked this question before I started, because I remember the first exam period I had at university, and balancing the work with the university life is it is difficult. I won't lie. And but after that first exam period, I kind of had to sit myself down and be like, right, how do you overcome this level of stress where you've got effectively two different streams of work going, like merging into one. And I'd say the best piece of advice I'd give is prioritize your tasks and organize yourself. I wasn't a very organized person coming into this, and this is something that I needed, and I know I needed to work on, and it's kind of helped my organization skills, because now I prioritize my tasks. Now I kind of set certain times for different tasks, whether that be university or for Ford work. But prioritizing and kind of setting yourself out and sorting out your week or even your day, being organized kind of helps a lot with that. And in terms of support, there's always someone you can talk to, whether that be, as Lauren mentioned, your peers kind of helping doing the work as a group with the other university apprentices, or it could just be a simple conversation with your supervisor to say, I've got an exam coming up. Is it all right to have an afternoon off just to revise? And okay, maybe they might say, we need you this afternoon, but at no point will they ever say, no, you can't have this off, because they realize that we're apprentices, and for certain periods that you need to be in, you're going to have to be in, but they're always willing to accommodate for certain afternoons or a morning that you can have off just for revision purposes. First, I remember last year, one of my final exams, I was quite stressed about, and it was just a simple conversation with my people leader, with my supervisor, saying, "Is it all right if I take the afternoon off the day before exam?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure, take the whole day off if you need it, because exams come first, the university comes first, and as long as you get your degree, that's when you get the job at Ford." So they realize that university is a priority. And so I said, staying organized helps a lot, and if you need the support, it's always there.
Perfect. And then for both of you, finally, what does the future hold for you at Ford? So in terms of career aspirations, things, extracurricular things, but in that scope, what does the future hold for you at Ford?
There's a lot of places I want to go within Ford. I would really love to go on the abroad test trips because I know they help you gain so much experience and so much more knowledge. I've heard so much about them and they sound incredible. So I'd love to do that. And then obviously, like I said, I'd really love to get myself through a degree, whether that's through the sponsored degree at Ford or if I put myself through the Open University, because I'd love to move up and become an engineer and be in charge of the tests that I help carry out every day because they're great.
As a hire apprentice, like I mentioned before, it's provided that you've passed all your exams and got your degree in your hand, it's a guaranteed job role as a grade 7 engineer within Ford. And so that's a great place to start, because not only have you got 4 years of experience and a degree, it's a guaranteed job role. And at Ford, there's limitless opportunities, as mentioned before, where you can go in pretty much any direction that you want. And there's a lot of opportunities in terms of progressing yourself, progressing within a team. If you feel like you need certain time to crack on with a specific task, there's always support there. There's also opportunities for sponsorships for a master's degree. So I'm spending 4 years doing a bachelor's. If I wanted to pursue a master's, it's something I can raise, and Ford will hopefully they can sponsor. They have sponsorships for master's degrees as well, and so that's another opportunity that you can pursue if you really wanted. But not only the work side of things, there's a lot of different societies that you can join. Even as an apprentice, there's so many different societies within the company. Just trying to kind of balance the work-life balance, where instead of being in the office 8 to 4 every day or 9 to 5 every day, it's you kind of come into office. There's certain things you can do. There's different workshops. There's different like downtime activities that you can do at the office, and so those are quite essential to do, especially if you're in office 5 days a week or 3 days a week if you're working from home as well. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities in terms of work, but also social life and social aspect.